Well, hello, and welcome back to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for this season. How's everyone doing? What a game. Obviously, we're doing this live stream directly after the Chelsea Spurs game, or Spurs-Chelsea game, should I say. And my oh my, every time this fixture comes around, it's an absolute thriller. 4-3. So many goals on offer, on display. Absolutely crazy one. Really good to see Palmer coming in clutch with his penalties and that deflected assist, I suppose, as well, which was very nice. So congratulations to everyone who, I guess, captained Palmer in the absence of Salah. That was a really, really clutch moment. Honestly, if you didn't captain Palmer this week, you might have had a bit of a stinker, though. You might have had a bit of a stinker because it feels like Palmer's saved the game week. He certainly saved my game week. I think I am on a green arrow. I think I'm up about. I started on about 450,000th, currently 390,000th in the world after auto subs and what have you. A couple of players left to play as well for me. I've got the Wolves boys, Ait-Nouri and Cunha, to come in. Obviously, I'm going to get the Rodgers and Dina auto subs and Palmer bonus points to come as well, which is going to be doubled due to captaincy. But all in all, man, I mean, outside of Palmer, not much happened for me. Not much happened to me. Someone said in the chat, would have sold Mbeumo if Salah played. And it's the same for so many. I think, in fairness, well, I don't want to be too salty. I mean, I know I'm a bit of a salty guy. I can't lie about it. But there will have been a few people who really got lucky out of that Liverpool postponement. I think a lot of people were planning on selling Mbeumo, maybe trying to move the money to Trent. But that said, even if people did sell Mbeumo in order to bring Trent into their side or something like that, there really is nothing to say that Trent couldn't have got a decent points haul as well. If Trent got an assist and a clean sheet and bonus points as well, then he could have come close to Mbeumo anyway. So, yeah, a lot of people might have sold Mbeumo, but Trent might have done better in the fixture. So, we can't complain too much. I think some people, in game weeks like this, some people will benefit more from auto subs than others. But at the same time, if there would have been a lot of people who don't, I know a lot of people just don't even bother setting their vice captain. If you missed the news that Liverpool's game was postponed and you didn't set your vice captain to, well, Palmer, I suppose, and you had the captain's armband on Salah, maybe the vice captain on Saka or someone like that, that is going to be a rough one to take. But that is what the vice captain is for. And that's why it is so useful. But I don't know. I'm not upset with my team. I know a lot of my team did let me down a bit, but Kirkes had I think a 0.93 XA assist. So basically crossed the ball in. I think it was Tavernier who missed an open goal. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely crazy. Obviously, Gabriel not playing, which I think was disappointing for a lot of people. But Arsenal did concede anyway. Jackson not involved in 4 goals for Chelsea. Kind of surprising in a way. And I know people will be asking about Jackson to Isak. That is a move that is on my mind. I have 3 free transfers right now, so it is definitely something I'm considering. I was kind of looking at this anyway, so I don't think this is a knee-jerk move either. Obviously, I actually sold Isak. I didn't have Jackson for 12 and 13 where he scored. Bought him in for 14 and 15 where Isak blanked when I had him and scored in the 2 goals where I didn't have him. So yeah, really frustrating for me to have Isak when he was blanking and then Jackson when he was blanking. But I'm not going to be too proud that I won't just reverse the move. I've got enough free transfers. I'd say certainly if you do have free transfers going around, if you've got a couple and you can afford the luxury move, then Jackson to Isak is fine. But that said, I don't think Jackson is a must sell. Brentford at home is a good fixture. Everton away, Fulham at home, not so keen on. After we kind of see in the last couple of game weeks, Fulham is a tough fixture. And I think Everton away is tougher than a lot of people think, particularly for an attacker, because Everton have been putting up some really good defensive numbers. I'll show you here, guys. If we go to teams and defensive numbers, we'll remove game week 14. maybe let's just go last 10 game weeks before that. And you will be able to see that non-penalty expected goals against Everton sitting in second place here, only behind Arsenal. So really, really good defensive numbers being shown by Everton. And they have had good fixtures, don't get me wrong, but never doubt Sean Dyche's ability to prevent the other team from scoring. So for that fixture, I'm not massive on Jackson for that one. But certainly Brentford's a great fixture. The difficulty is that Isak's fixtures are even better. And he's played 90 minutes again, so fitness is kind of out the way. Leicester at home, Ipswich away, Aston Villa at home, Man United away, Spurs away. I like all of these fixtures are nice. Bournemouth at home, don't love it, but it's fine. Southampton away here in 23. If you bought in Isak, provided he stayed fit, you could hold him till game week 23 with ease. So it's very, very nice. It's a very nice player to have, and I think I do regret selling Isak for Jackson. I massively regret that move. But it is what it is, and I think I'm just going to reverse it. And we will have a look at price changes, by the way, guys. And it does look like Isak is going up tonight. It really, really does. So be aware of that one. We will have a look at price changes and various things like that. Eddie in the chat says best striker under 7.1 million. If you haven't got this man here, 7.1 million and under, I hope you mean, then I would be, well, I'm very interested to see what he can produce against West Ham, but then he's got Ipswich and Leicester up next. And, you know, again, even Man United at home, still think that Man United are showing some defensive fragilities. Spurs, we know about Spurs and their defence. We can go back to the numbers here, defensive numbers. We see Spurs and Man United last 10 game weeks. And this doesn't even include this game week just gone, where they conceded yet more goals, more chances. Really, really teams that are conceding a lot of chances. So these are good fixtures to target. They really, really are. So I like it. I like it. Definitely Cunha and Isak look like two forwards I'd very much like to own. Maybe throw João Pedro in there as well. Reasonably good fixtures. A little bit disappointing against Leicester and Southampton. We thought those were the big ones for him. His minutes aren't quite where we want him to be, but he is so cheap. He is so cheap that I don't think it's too much of a bother, really. But yeah, certainly Isak and Cunha, I think, are the two big strikers. They really, really are. MJ Lozano says, is Kirkes still a good pickup for Game Week 16? I do really like Kirkes, yes. Really, really unlucky not to get an assist in this game week against Ipswich. So quite disappointing there. And I think in general, well, you can see here, expected goals conceded. Game Week 15 is the first game week we've seen in the last 4 where Bournemouth have conceded over 1 XGC. So it's just Bournemouth are a solid defence. They really are. They have been. Again, we can go back to this page here. Bournemouth sitting in 5th place here from game week, 4 to 15? Or 5 to 14, sorry. So yeah, still a top defence, well worth investing in. And we know by now Kirkes is a creative monster. He really is. So yeah, I've got him in my starting lineup. I think between him and Hall, these are nice, cheap defenders to own right now. Aït-Nouri plays Ipswich as well, so he's going to be an option there. There's quite a few good, cheap defenders that have a solid chance of returns in game week 16. So these are all good to play. The one other defender I'm interested in, and I think, you know, part of me wants to just get an Arsenal defensive asset in. I know I've got Gabriel, but I think Verbruggen is maybe the way to go. Get Verbruggen to Raya somehow. Well, I'd have to find the money somehow. I'm not sure how I would do that. I could have a big old shift around, which would maybe help that. I do have the free transfers to do it, but I think Raya would be really nice for game week 16. Really nice. But the other defender who I really like is Mr. Daniel Munoz, who is putting up some really nice attacking numbers. Really nice. Scored 2 goals in his last 3 game weeks. I think Crystal Palace in general are on the up. They are. I know a lot of people went on Munoz in game week 1, myself included. Thought, you know, he's going to be great just like he was last season. taken a little while to get into things this season, Crystal Palace, but they're unbeaten in 4 now, which is nice. And I think from game week 18, maybe more like game week 19 against Southampton. The problem is, I think Bournemouth, they are a solid defence, but I don't think they're that good in attack. And it's not because they don't create chances, but they don't really have too many strong finishers in that Bournemouth side. So I think it is okay to have a defender against Bournemouth. And from there, game week 18 for Daniel Munoz. So this is a player I'm really strongly looking at. Now he's down to 4.7 million of all the attacking. He has the best attacking numbers of any defender in the Premier League on current form, by the way. So yeah, from 18, Bournemouth, Southampton, Chelsea, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Man United, Everton, Fulham, Villa, Ipswich, Newcastle, Southampton, Brighton. You know, you can play him for most of these game weeks. You possibly rotate him against the likes of Chelsea, Man United away maybe, Fulham and Aston Villa in 26 and 27, but that's all the way in February, so we don't need to look at that too much. There's a lot of really playable fixtures here for him, and with his attacking threat, you can even play him in some of the more tricky fixtures. He's nailed on. He's not going to miss games, which is really positive, and he works really nicely as a replacement for Ait-Nouri. Now, depending on what price you bought Ait-Nouri at, they could be similar prices for you. But looking towards the future, West Ham, obviously, this week. Next week, Ipswich. Then Leicester in 17 for Ait-Nouri. But from 18, it gets a lot tougher. I mean, Man United, Spurs, Forest, Newcastle away, Chelsea, Villa, Arsenal Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth. All in a row. I cannot see a game week in which you'd want to play Ait-Nouri beyond game week 18. So works really nicely as a future transfer to think about. I would keep in mind to hold on to a transfer with the idea of selling Ait-Nouri for a Daniel Munoz. That looks really nice. It's like the perfect timing. Perfect timing. Looks really good. So there you have it. That is a defender I'm harshly looking at. I guess so. If you're looking for something a little more short-term, I think Kirkes is possibly where I'd look to go. West Ham is nice, Crystal Palace is nice, Everton is nice. So about, 3 of the next 5 game weeks, you can very happily play him. But he does have enough attacking threat where I think he's okay even to play against United and Fulham. So Kirkes, I think, should be on the menu for a lot of people. Is Hall a good buy? Difficult to say, really. The minor concern is that he was substituted for a newly fit Trippier this week, which did concern me a little bit. I still think he should be good for minutes, and the fixtures in the next 2 we know are brilliant for him. We spoke about Isak earlier on already. The fixtures look good, so I still think Lewis Hall, it's that Newcastle home versus away. If we look at their defensive numbers, they're kind of mid-table. So they're not a special defence by any means. But in better fixtures, you probably back him a little bit more. So I like Lewis Hall, I like Kirkes, and I like Munoz, but in a couple of game weeks' time. These are the cheap defenders I like. But really, I think we're still looking at Arsenal defenders. Last week, I probably would have, if Liverpool were playing Everton, I would have suggested Trent last week. But I think ahead of Fulham and Spurs, I'm not as convinced that this is the right moment to buy Trent. I think more game week 18 onwards could be a nice moment to buy a Liverpool defender for your team. Gomez, Quansah, not quite sure I'm ready to go there. So yeah, I think for now, I'm probably taking a little rain check on those Liverpool defenders. But Arsenal, slightly different situation. They've got really nice fixtures from a defender's point of view. Everton, Palace, Ipswich, 3 in a row. Beautiful fixtures for a defender. Gets a little tougher after that. The 4 after that. Brentford, Brighton, both away. Spurs, Aston Villa. You can see some goals being conceded in these games. But yeah, next 3, really nice for Arsenal. If you haven't got a Raya or a Timber in your team, add them to your Gabriel. I know people will be looking at Saliba. I'm still not convinced. Yes, he's scored 2 game weeks in a row. I don't know if it's sustainable. He's just not that guy. It's not his role in the team. It's not his role in the team to score goals, even from set pieces. Never has been. Never has been. So, by all means, Saliba owners, count your blessings, but I don't think it'll be happening every week. But good for clean sheets, at least. But I think just go for Timber at the slightly cheaper price. Super chat here from Bernie91. Says, did Mbeumo and Porro to Semenyo and Trent for a -4? No. Salah as captain and forgot to set Palmer as vice-captain. Ended with Saka as captain. 31 points with 2 left. Bernie, you've had an absolute nightmare, man. That is, I guess, one of the rough things about the early transfers, I suppose. There will be a lot of people who would have made incredibly similar moves to that had they gone early with their transfers. I think you've got to, Bernie, I think you've got to find yourself unlucky there, man. Some people would say you should have waited until the news. Like, there was news floating around that there was potential for the Everton-Liverpool game to be postponed, even on the Friday night, which was something that put me off any Trent-related moves. But at the same time, if that game goes ahead, those moves are solid. Those are sensible. That is a really good idea. The vice-captain thing, I guess it's a lesson, man, you know. A lot of people do it. A lot of people just don't bother setting their vice-captain. This is why we set our vice-captain. This is why we set it. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Matthias says, any plans for Haaland game week 18? Yes, Haaland, a couple of tough fixtures. Like I did mention before, Everton I don't think is that good of a fixture. Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich is much nicer, however. So we have got a really nice run of fixtures here for Haaland. I mean, even Man United at home, I think, is a good fixture for Haaland. The problem is his team is just not that good. And who are you going to sell? Are you going to sell Salah? Are you going to sell Palmer? Are you going to sell Saka? It's difficult to recommend selling any of those players. So I think with Haaland, if you don't already have him, you'll probably play it by ear, monitor game week by game week. If it does seem like, you know, if there's an injury to Palmer, Salah or Saka, or if one of them goes massively off form in the next few game weeks, then at that point you consider making a move. But I think it's business as usual for the 3 big premium midfielders. I know Saka blank today, difficult game against Fulham. Salah no fixture, but you know, in the last few weeks we've been having very different conversations, and I don't think this game week is enough to convince me that suddenly any of those 3 players are sells. So for now, I think they're good to go. Christopher Lee says, worth selling Gavardio to free up funds. Yeah, I don't think I'd be touching the Man City defence right now. They're just not looking good enough. I would say get rid. Another Arsenal defender could be a really nice thing to do. Not even to free up too many funds, but just switching to an Arsenal defender sounds pretty sensible to me. The cheap guys just aren't doing it consistently enough. Sam says, what would you say is a good rank to be at for an engaged manager? I think I would like to be top 500k at this moment. But I think ranks, for now, until game week 38 finishes, ranks are very much for show. I've seen a lot of people start with, you know, maybe less engaged managers start the season really, really well, and things do fall apart very, very quickly because it is, of course, a marathon, not a sprint, as we know. We're not even at the halfway stage of the season, and there'll be so many points to be gained in the second half, and things get a little bit trickier. Long-term planning is something that, like, engaged, experienced FPL managers are better at, generally speaking, than maybe less experienced FPL managers. So they often see benefits in the long term rather than the short term. So as every game week that goes by, you should see the better FPL managers slowly rise and rise. But at the end of the season, these days, a top 100,000 finish, I think, is respectable. There's a lot of good FPL managers out there these days. And yeah, top 100k, I think, is can be considered a solid rank. I'm not saying it's an amazing rank, but it's certainly solid. So that's I think that's the first goalpost, the first aim for any FPL manager. And you know, if you've managed to get into the top 100k already, then a lot of that is going to be about maintaining that, because it's not as easy as you think. I think a lot of people will have experienced that, maybe having a strong start to the season. It is tough to maintain it sometimes. And the players that score well for you in the immediate term are not necessarily always the players who will score well in the future. Not always. A lot of the time they are, though, to be fair. But not always. Not always. Not always. Right, let's continue through some of these questions. I'll let you guys lead the discussion today, to be honest, because I've not really come here with an agenda, so to speak, anything to talk about in particular. So we'll continue there. Hernan says, Madueke, Neto or Sancho? None. Wouldn't touch the Chelsea wingers. I think we've got some rotation up for grabs. In Neto, is Neto suspended? Is he got 5th yellow card? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Neto's going to be suspended. So it hasn't updated on the FPL website yet, but Neto has received his 5th yellow card. So he's going to be suspended for next game week anyway. So Madueke, there has been some comments about Madueke and how he's been training recently. So I'm not totally convinced by really any of the Chelsea wingers. Expect some rotation there. Gian Webb says, might have missed it already, but what will happen with Salah? He's in my team and my captain got Palmer. Oh, so you got Palmer as your vice captain and Mbeumo on the bench. Congratulations, Gian. You've absolutely clutched up. Yeah. I told you, some people will have really benefited from missing the Salah news. Hey, FPL is part luck, but you have definitely come out on the right side of that one. So your captain will move to Palmer and Mbeumo will automatically sub on from your bench. Enzo at 4.9 million. I mean, yeah, he's certainly scoring a lot of FPL points at the moment. I think, yeah, genuinely, if you're looking for that ultra cheap defender, ultra cheap midfielder, I think maybe we're shifting away from Rodgers to a degree. I don't think Rodgers is a bad player to have, but I think if we're looking for the perfect cheap midfielder right now, it's going to be one of Enzo or Ahmad, isn't it? I don't think he's too rotation risk. I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit of rotation risk. It's difficult, isn't it? Caicedo and Lavia can play there. Maybe there is a bit of rotation risk, but he's in form, isn't he? So difficult, man. Difficult. He has been overperforming, by the way, Enzo Fernandez. He has been overperforming, but he looks good. He looks good. And he's playing a different role to what we've seen previously. So he is playing a little more advanced, so I like it. I do like it. But Ahmad is also really good. I think Ahmad has probably been one of the stars of this new look Man United team. He's looked pretty decent. Looked very decent. Harshit says, big fan, please comment on the Cunha to Isak move. I have Pedro and Jackson in my team. I think I'd rather move Jackson to Isak than Cunha to Isak. I mean, I have those same players as you, and I'm edging towards Jackson to Isak far more so than Cunha to Isak. The fixtures for Cunha, Ipswich at home, Leicester away, even Man United at home, even Spurs away. I like all of these fixtures, so not really a move I'm looking to make to remove Cunha right now. In fact, I think a lot of people will be looking to bring in Cunha if they don't have him already. Thoughts on Evan Ilson and Semenyo? Disappointing this week for Bournemouth in general, really. I was certainly disappointed with them. Against Ipswich, we expected more. The next fixtures, a couple of decent ones. West Ham and Man United, like the look of these fixtures. After that, don't love any of these fixtures, really. I think if you are going for Bournemouth players, you are leaving it a little bit late. I think the time to invest was probably last game week, the game week before kind of area, but it's probably a little late on these guys. I think we'd probably be looking elsewhere. Like, my ideal front three is probably, to be fair, it's probably Cunha, Jackson and Isak. If I had to remove one of these three, it would be João Pedro, if money was no issue. But João Pedro is just such good value for money that I can't really see myself removing him. Do I move Solanke to Isak? Yeah, Solanke to Isak looks pretty nice. Spurs fixtures. To be fair, Spurs can play against they can score against anyone. That is one of the great benefits of Spurs. They do play Southampton next, but after that, Liverpool, Forest, tougher. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I would argue that Isak is just as good, if not better, against Leicester, though. It would be a luxury move, but so would Jackson to Isak. These are not moves that you have to make necessarily. I guess they're just nice moves to make. Tough one, man. If you have no other issues and you've got a couple of spare transfers, then Solanke and Jackson to Isak, I think, is worth doing. Oh, but only if you've got spare transfers, or at the very least, you're very comfortable with the rest of your team. You don't see yourself making any other major moves. Maybe you've got a decent bench so you can rotate in some of those more difficult fixtures. And, you have that backup if you do get a surprise injury. Then transfers are less valuable to you. So you can make a few more luxury moves. But if you've got one free transfer, you've got other areas in your team that you want to improve, then maybe stick with Jackson, stick with Solanke. Has the Everton-Liverpool game been given a date? No, it hasn't, but I believe Ben Crellin has offered us 2 possible game weeks. Shout out Ben Crellin, by the way. We do know him as the, certainly the fastest guy on these kind of things, on the dates and stuff. Let's see. Okay. So, he said the earliest that the Liverpool-Everton game could be rescheduled is the 1st of January. But that's probably unlikely due to short notice and a busy festive schedule. Tend to agree with that one. If you want an extra mini double game week... Okay, so... Game week 25 looks likely. Game week 33. So it depends on Liverpool and how far they go in the EFL Cup or the Carabao Cup. But 25 and 33 are the most likely game weeks. And at that point, it might be worth having that in mind now. Maybe a wild card, maybe, just trying to save a few free transfers, because trying to get, triple Liverpool, maybe one Everton player could be pretty nice. 25 and 33. So let's have a look, actually. Who would Liverpool's double game week be against if they were rescheduled into 25? So they'd play against Wolves and Everton. If you have your triple captain and Liverpool moves into this game week, save your triple captain for this exact moment. I am gutted I used my triple captain already, because that would be amazing. Liverpool against Wolves and Everton in a double game week. Salah triple captain. Beauty. Absolute beauty. Would be looking to definitely have at least one, if not 2 Liverpool defenders during that as well. Obviously, the Liverpool attackers, when they play multiple games in a single week, there is going to be rotation there. But Liverpool, if they doubled in 25, to have Salah, Trent, and maybe Van Dijk or Konate if he's back, which he would be by this point, something like that could be beautiful. Really, really nice. Double Liverpool defence in that with Salah. Oh, corker. Game week 33, let's have a look at that one. So that's away against Leicester. Again, phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, yeah. We are going to be tripling up on Liverpool. We really, really are. That is mad. That is mad. Triple captainers, you guys are going to absolutely kill it. You really are. Is it worth selling Van Dijk for Trent? No, sir. No, sir. Stick with what you got. If you've already got one of Van Dijk and Trent. I mean, a lot of people would argue that Van Dijk is a better pick than Trent due to that price difference, I suppose. I prefer Trent personally, but I think they're both good. I do think they're both good. There's not too much in it because of that price difference, particularly now that Trent is up to 7 million. How annoying, by the way. Trent, game postponed, and he still gets a price rise. But I feel worse for people who bought him in, I suppose. I think he could drop down to back down to 6.9 if Liverpool concede in the next 2, which I think there's a good chance they will. We got that attacking threat at least. Thoughts on Gomez? Not sure I'd go there. I think he had a rough game in game week 14? Yeah, 14. I think he had a rough game in 14 against Newcastle. So I think there is probably going to be some contentious potential rotation between Kwanzaa and Gomez. I'm not convinced enough by either of them to say this one will start. Gomez is the more versatile of the two. So, well, I would say that, but Kwanzaa, could play it right back as well. Yeah. Tough one, man. I don't think I'd go for either of them, though. If you're going to go for a Liverpool defender, just go all out on a Trent or a Van Dijk. But that said, next two fixtures for Liverpool, not massively keen. Jurgen Klopp in the chat says, I'm tripling up on Chelsea. Thoughts? Depends who the players are. If they're defensive assets for Chelsea, I'm not sure I'd want to go there. Palmer, Jackson, Enzo as a cheapie, I don't mind. But anyone else, I don't think I'd want to touch them, really. Johnny Colton says, best defender under 5.5 million. Is Timber under 5.5? If so, him. If not, tougher. If Calafiori's back, you could potentially go there if Timber's out of your reach. What is Timber? 5.6. Tough, man. Tough. What about... Where are you, Calafiori? 5.8. Okay, you're not going to go there either then, really. Yeah, there's not really a good Arsenal defender for that price tag. So you would be looking to go dip into the bargain bin of Kirkes, I would imagine. Very creative, good fixtures, plays for a decent defence. I like it. Timber for Gabriel. There's a week until Arsenal's next Premier League game. I wouldn't rush Gabriel out yet. And Gabriel is apparently in some kind of training. He's not been in full training as far as I know, but he has been doing some light work, which suggests that he will be back reasonably soon. I think we play that by ear. See if we often get pictures of players training and think, are Arsenal playing midweek? Can we get some info from that? Yeah, Monaco. So if Gabriel is in the squad against Monaco, then we're going to instantly know you got to keep Gabriel, right? You got to keep him. But if he's not in the squad against Monaco, I think we maybe revisit this one. But surely he's not going to be out for too long. And he's a good long-term hold. So if you have the bench cover, I think Gabriel, just hold on to him. Thoughts on Colwell? Not keen. I'm not keen on this Chelsea defence in general. They don't look like a good defence right now. Am I selling Bruno? Well, I mean, he's a player I thought about selling, but it's becoming more difficult to sell him, really. I'll go to my pick team page. Because he plays against Man City this week. Man City are doing pretty poor defensively, and this is a big game. Anything can happen in these big derby matches. So, Bruno, if he continues to do pretty well, obviously he's on those set pieces and penalties. And he has those moments in him, as we've seen against Forest with the goal. Very close to scoring a free kick as well against Forest. He is showing promise. He really is. So I think I'm leaning towards keeping Bruno. The only way I would sell Bruno is to fund another move. But my issue is I can't find a replacement for him that I like. I cannot find a single player I could sell Bruno for and say, yes, I have objectively got a better player in my FPL team right now. It would be nice to free up some money to upgrade a defender, but at the same time, Kirkes and Hull, they're fine for this game week. Be more of a Bruggen I'd be looking to upgrade, I think. So I definitely, if I sold Bruno and Verbruggen. I have 3 free transfers. So say I did do the Jackson to Isak move, for example. Because that's the move I'm most likely to make. I could use my other 2 free transfers to get Raya in for the double Arsenal defence. And then I'd have 7.5 to spend on a midfielder. Where would I go? Where would I go for a midfielder that I love? Because I don't love much at that kind of price tag. Iwobi against Liverpool? Probably not. Probably more looking at Iwobi from the game week after that, if I was to go for him. And Mbeumo, couldn't afford him. But even if I could, is this game an anomaly? Is it an anomaly, or is he back? Big question. What do we think? Do we think Mbeumo is back in business? Or do we think that it was a one-off game and he's going to go back to, I mean, crazy. He took as many shots in Gameweek 15 alone than he did in his previous, 6 games? Or 5 games, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 games. I don't know, man. I think if you own him, you're going to say he's back. I think if you don't own him, you're probably going to be less convinced. I think he's probably a don't buy, don't sell at this point. It's home versus away factor mainly. Yeah, that for sure that is an influence. But at the same time, like, he did nothing against Leicester. In a 4-goal game, he didn't take a single shot. And then against Bournemouth, he got, an assist. He did take a shot against Bournemouth. So there's the home versus away factor. Away against Chelsea, home Forest, away Brighton, home Arsenal. So even the home games are the tough. The home games are the tough ones. The away fixtures, where Brentford are typically worse, are the games you would want him to be at home. It's a little rough, isn't it? It's a little rough for Brian and Mbeumo going forward. Not rough to own him necessarily, but rough to make a decision on him. It is really, really tough. I can see it going either way. But I mean, we'll see. I don't think he's a must sell, but he's not been a must sell for this whole time because there's just no replacements. That's what I'm saying. Like, where do I go? Let's have a look. Let's actually go on. Let's look at Hub's website. I'll zoom out a little bit because everything's so zoomed in. Players, let's go past 6 game weeks. We're not going to have the data for all of these players because obviously the games today are going to not all going to have logged as data yet. But if we go 7.5, I mean, this is just for me, just for an example. It'll be for a lot of you guys as well. So let's go expected XGI. Let's go expected goal involvements. Well, Cliver stat padding with the penalties. Sar's done well, to be fair. His data's really good. Brendan Johnson doesn't really have the fixtures. Madueke is a rotation risk. Tavernier, don't think he's a good enough finisher, really. Enzo Fernandez is in here. Sharda, Enzo maybe with some rotation risk. Mitoma is in here. But the best fixtures for Brighton are probably out the way. We've got Iwobi in here as well. Gordon. Is Gordon the guy? Potential. And then we look at Bowen after that. But, are these improvements on Bruno? I don't think a single one of these players is an improvement on Bruno. It's so tough, man. Midfielders are tough. I think if you're going for a cheap guy, you probably go for Enzo, don't you? If you need someone really cheap, you go for Enzo. Like, just don't even mess about with it. Free up some budget. Could be useful for the future. And he's so cheap. He's very benchable. Very benchable at that price. But I'm hardly going to do Bruno Fernandes for Enzo Fernandez, am I? Gordon is potentially better than Bruno. Hey, maybe. There's an argument to be made there, but I can't say that with confidence. I can't say that with chest. Nub Nation best midfielder at 5.8 or less. I think I'd just go all the way down to Enzo. Is it too late to get Palmer? No. It's not. Mad Men at Work with the super chat says, have Raya Gabriel who to get for Gvardiol with 6.1 million. You're gonna have to go bargain shopping. If you've already got double Arsenal defence, I don't think I'd add a third. Or would I add a third? It's risky to go against Saka. If you're happy to go against Saka, then maybe Timber is your guy. But if you want to keep the option for Saka open, I think most people probably would. Then you're probably going to have to go all the way down because 6.1, there's nothing going on at that price for defenders. You could argue Liverpool defenders are worth going for, but really we'd be looking at Trent and Van Dijk, and they're both above 6 million. So where do we go? Cheap. You go Kirkes, you maybe go Lewis Hall. But don't expect too much for them. At that point, you may as well just keep Gvardiol unless you need the money for other moves. I don't think it's a huge improvement. What to do with Digne and Bruno? I think Digne is more useful in the future than Ait-Nouri. If you can bench Digne for the short term, I think he could be okay in the future. He is rotation risk, but as soon as the fixture schedule starts to clear up a bit, and it will clear up going forward, it will start to get better and better, and Digne's minutes will become more and more easy to predict. And when that happens, Digne's going to be a useful player again. Aston Villa have pretty solid defensive numbers. I know they have conceded goals, but their defensive numbers are not too bad. So I do like Digne. I like he has potential. So I don't think he is a must sell unless you have no bench cover. I think Digne, by the way, I think he plays next week. Unless he plays midweek, which he probably does against Leipzig. But then if he doesn't play against Forest, he probably plays against City and then probably against Newcastle. And do you want those fixtures? Yeah, let's be honest, Digne is pretty useless for the next 3-4 game weeks. But after that, I think from game week 20 onwards, I think Digne is nice. So if you can't bench Digne for the next 3, he's probably a guy to sell. But like I said, I think he could be useful in the future. As for Bruno, I do think he is fine to keep. Bruno is kind of like Mbeumo. You sell them if you need to free up budget for other moves, and you keep them if you don't really have any other moves you want to make. They're cash cow players because it's going to be difficult to improve on them because there's nothing out there. Bruno to Saka. Yeah, definitely some potential there. But again, Everton is not a great fixture. I think Arsenal will do well in it, though. I think it's the kind of fixture that suits Arsenal in a way. Wood to Pedro. Could do. Don't think it's a must-make move, I suppose. Thoughts on Ahmad? Yeah, like him. He's another. Him and Enzo are the cheap midfielders I like the most. How do you know when to roll transfers? When there isn't any problems in my team. When a transfer doesn't improve my team enough. I like the way I try and look at it is, if I was to make transfers, would it make a significant improvement to my team? And the more free transfers I build up, the less emphasis I put on that. So if I'm just building up, I've got 3 free transfers right now, so I'm more comfortable now making a luxury move than I would be if I had 1 free transfer. So for me, Jackson to Isak with 3 free transfers in the bank, it's fine. If I had 1, I probably wouldn't make that move. Thoughts on Watkins? Nice for him to have a benching, but Forest away is not exactly a targetable fixture. If you're looking for a new forward, I think Jackson and Isak and Cunha are my top 3 forwards to own, as well as João Pedro, but only because of his cheap price tag. Young? No, we don't touch Everton with these fixtures, man. Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Forest, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Spurs, Brighton. He basically plays all of the toughest, other than Liverpool, and there's a good chance that gets rescheduled in shortly after that. They just play tough game after tough game. I wouldn't be touching Everton players in general. Even as good as they have been defensively, they're not going to be keeping a huge amount of clean sheets in that run. When is Liverpool double game week? We don't know yet. We don't know. Are you starting Rodgers or Kirkes next week? My current lineup for next week is this. So I play Kirkes and Hall. Bench Ait-Nouri against Ipswich. Rodgers is isn't better than Fernandes, in my opinion, even in the slightly better. Is it even a slightly better fixture? Probably not. But Bruno probably has the better fixture. We're gonna do away with our preconceptions about both Man City and Forest. To be fair, right now it's better to play City than it is to play Forest. Aina replacements: Kerkez, Hall, Munoz in a couple of weeks. When to jump on Liverpool defenders? I'd give it 2 more game weeks. From game week 18 is when I think Liverpool defenders will hold a lot more value. That's not to say they're bad to go for now. I still think they're solid players to have. You can definitely go for them now, but I think there's more appeal from 18. I think Spurs away, they will score against Liverpool, and Fulham, the form they've been in, I think there's a very good chance Fulham score against Liverpool as well. So I don't think they're must-haves, but from 18 they look very tasty. Very tasty indeed. Who should I transfer in from Mbeumo? No idea, man. Just keep him at this point. Why would you bench Aït-Nouri versus Ipswich? Because I have Kerkez and Hall, and I think both of them are better. I think Ipswich... Well, let's have a look at this. From what I see when I watch the games, it looks like Ipswich are actually not the worst attack in the league. Let's go non-penalty XG... Okay, well, they are worse than both Leicester and West Ham, apparently. Actually, let's tighten up this range a little bit. Let's go 9 to 15. So this is last 7 game weeks. So let's go 6. Let's tighten up a bit more. We want to see recent form. So, yeah, when we look at this, Ipswich have generated more non-penalty XG than both Leicester and West Ham. So, there's factor 1. Ipswich is a slightly tougher fixture for a defender than Leicester and West Ham are. Factor number 2, as why I'm benching Aït-Nouri, is the... hang on. Hold your horses. Is the attacking threat of these 3 players. So, Aït-Nouri, let's find all 3. Kerkez and Hull. And if we look at these, so let's go show only selected players, and we look at their XGI, expected goal involvements during the same period, Kerkez and Hull are better attackers. So they play slightly more favourable, fixtures from a defensive point of view. They have better attacking threats. Let's add more XG. Yeah, because of a penalty. Penalties can happen at any time. I'm not counting penalties. Kerkez and Hull, better attacking potential. Factor number 3 is the final one. Don't worry. So now let's look at the quality of the defences, and I prefer a longer range for defences, really. But non-penalty expected goals against, Wolves are lower than both Bournemouth and Newcastle. So, just to run through all of the reasons there why I've gone for Kerkez and Hall over Aït-Nouri is because both Kerkez and Hall beat Aït-Nouri in 3 categories. Quality of the defence, quality of the fixture from a defensive point of view, and better attacking potential. So, these are kind of, I think, good ways of making, all 3 look great on paper, but I think if we're trying to split hairs a little bit here, there's enough evidence to suggest to me that I should play Kerkez and Hall over Aït-Nouri. What website is that? It is Fantasy Football Hub. The website I don't shut up about because I love it so much. As you can see, always using it for these kind of decision-making things. And if you can get full access for Hub for free at the moment. The link is in the description. Is it the second link in the description? Hang on. Oh no, it's the first link in the description. There you go. You can't. Oh, hang on. I need to change it actually. So try Hub for free full access. I'm going to change the video description on the fly. So yeah, if you want to try out, now is the time to do it because you can get full access for free for 30 days. And if you like it, couple of pounds a month if you want to have full access. But there are there's some free stuff on there as well. So just in general, love it. So yeah, use the link in the description and you can try this tool out. Really, really, genuinely. I know people will say, "Oh, they pay you to say this, Daniel." Yes, they do. But I only ever take sponsorships from products I genuinely really do like myself. So it's not because I'm not just hyping it up because they pay me. I genuinely am on the Hub. I would say genuinely I spend around 1 or 2 hours a day on Fantasy Football Hub. Is that sad? Is that sad? Whoa, he says, bro, that the bro that asked about the website was a paid actor. Yeah. I'm currently paying people to put in the chat about Hub so I can promote it. That's a great idea, actually. Maybe I should do that. Put some plants in the chat to help me promote Hub. But I think it promotes itself, to be fair. I really think it does. Which is a dream for me. Makes my life easier. Right, let's have a look at some price changes. We'll answer a few more questions before we wrap things up today, guys. Let's go for price change predictions. Is this up to date? Not sure if it is. Okay, what do we got here? So, and these are only predictions, by the way, and they operate at a 98.4% accuracy. So, it's never 100%. Please do be aware. Please do be aware. And certainly, if it says, like, let's go Isaac, for example, it says he will rise tomorrow, but I usually try and give 1 day either side. So if it says tomorrow, you acknowledge the possibility it could happen tonight rather than tomorrow night. And I know it says tonight, but depending on where you are in the world, it might not be tonight. But it's 1:30 a.m. UK time when the prices change. So depending on where you are in the world, it might be a different time of day. But Saka due to go up tonight, as is Murillo, Raya, Kilman, and... Oh, no, sorry. Saka, Murillo, Raya up tonight, and Kilman and Savio down. For tomorrow, or it could be today, could be a day early, you never know. Hall, Cunha, Strand Larson, Timber, Vardy, Isak, Saliba to go up in the very near future. And to go down, Akanji, Haaland. Oh, there's a lot. Akanji, Haaland, Luis Diaz, Winks, Nedeljkovic, Buonanotte. Buonanotte at 4.9, by the way. Could be worse. Gavardiol could go down tomorrow. But again, be aware it could happen tonight. Smith Rowe. And then throughout the rest of the week, we're looking at drops for Jesus, Ramsdale, Gabriel. And later on in the week, we could see Collins, O'Shea, Colwell, Milenkovic, Van Dijk, Young, Wisser, Kirkes, and many other players potentially going up. Potentially. But as it's a little further in the future, I'm sure we'll get some better predictions later on in the week. But there you go. There's are the price changes coming up. Let's answer some of your final questions before we wrap things up today. Chris says, own Jackson, Bruno, Delap to Isak, Semenyo, bench and Mbeumo. I don't think that Semenyo is that much better than Mbeumo that it's worth doing. I like the idea of having Jackson and Isak, though. If you're going to bench Mbeumo, though, is it worth just selling? Could you sell Mbeumo? Could you do... Because I think I prefer Bruno as a longer term hold. Is it possible for you to do Delap and Mbeumo to like Isak and a super cheap guy like an Enzo Fernandez? Would that work? Because if so, I don't mind it. I don't mind that at all, Chris. Spams said, should I play my free hit? Probably not. Probably not. There's going to be plenty of great opportunities in blank and double game weeks later on in the season for those free hits. So, yeah, hold on to that free hit. You know, you could even use a free hit to bring in like triple Liverpool if they get their double game week. Unexpectedly, maybe. Joe says, has a price drop for a player you own and you're looking to sell... Influence. It influences me to a degree. It influences the urgency in which I need to make the move. I never make transfers purely to build team value, though. Are you captaining Palmer over Salah for Gameweek 16? Well, the honest answer is I haven't really decided. Currently, I am on Palmer, but I'm not locked in on that. But currently, I do like Palmer. Maybe a small temptation for Isak, but it might be a little risky for my liking. But yeah, leaning Palmer at this moment. Things can change throughout the week. Game week 15 isn't over yet, so I don't want to lock that one in. Right, when to bench boost? Way later in the season. There's going to be some great opportunities late in the season for a bench boost with some double game weeks. Watkins out, Isak in. I'd be tempted. I would be tempted by that move for sure. Wissa to Isak. Yeah, I like that as well. If you can afford to make that upgrade, I would consider it. I think Isak probably #1 transfer target for me this week. Mittelmer and Woods to Pedro and Enzo to free up funds. No. Nah, I don't think so. Like, freeing up funds for what? Unless you're making a third transfer as well this week, then no. I get a lot of questions about that, by the way. A lot of people said, oh, should I make this transfer to free up funds? I don't mind the idea of freeing up funds generally. But if you're not going to reinvest that money immediately and the transfers don't really improve your team, then I wouldn't bother. Save the transfers and free up those funds on a later date. Why not? Sancho, no, don't really like Chelsea midfielders outside of Palmer, rotation risk, and I do like Enzo because of his price tag as well. Jackson to Isak, yeah, maybe. Definitely a possible luxury move. Aït-Nouri out, if yes, for who? I think he's a low priority transfer out this week, but he is a possible sell if you do have a lot of free transfers. Scott says, is this the hardest FPL's been? You can't own everyone more than ever, and you feel you get punished by the ones you don't every week. I think that mostly applies to, like, Palmer, Salah, Saka. Outside of that, I don't think things have been too punishing outside of those three players. I think Haaland owners are probably feeling that more than anyone else. And Mbeumo to Gordon, it's luxury, but I don't mind that move. Gone to my head, if I had to sell, in my case, Fernandes, but I guess also Mbeumo fits in a similar category, I would move to Gordon. But I don't think you have to make that move. How many points did you score this week? I think I'm on something like 57 so far. Got Aït-Nouri and Cunha to play. So I'm on a green arrow, but it could be better. Could be better. Hopefully a slightly bigger green arrow. If Cunha and Aït-Nouri can clutch up tomorrow, that would be nice. Is having both Jackson and Isak a good move or one? I like the idea. If you can afford to have both, I like it. I like it. What is your rank? I think I'm around 390k right now, but hoping that can go up a little bit tomorrow. Keep Wood for the long term or sell? I'd say he's worth selling for Isak if you can make that move. If not, then no major rush. Don't bench Ryan Aït-Nouri. If you don't want to bench him, fair enough, but I've kind of explained my my logic as to why I'm benching Aït-Nouri, and I think it's fairly solid logic in my specific situation, because I do have a very nice Kirkes and Hull here. Thoughts on Mateta in 2 game weeks? I've not thought too much into that, to be honest, but yeah, there's some potential there. There is some potential there. What's his price at these days? It was at around 7 at one point. I wonder if he's dropped below. 7.2. Yeah. He's probably not the best value for money pick, but if you're like looking to sell Cunha in game week 18, then maybe Cunha to Mateta, potential. There is some potential for sure. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Would you do Bruno, Wissa to Semenyo and Isak for a -4? Ooh. Maybe. Wissa's scoring form hasn't dried up enough to make me think he's a must-sell. And I don't think Bruno's a must-sell either. I would like to have Isak, don't get me wrong, but is it worth it for a -4? I'm going to say no. All right, Norris Munoz in Gameweek 18. Yeah, we spoke about that earlier. It is something I like. It is something I like. And let's just do one more question. Wood and Jackson to Isak and Pedro. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no on that bad boy. Yeah. All right. I think we'll leave it there, guys. But apologies if I couldn't answer all of your questions. Do feel free to. This stream is going to go up as a video, so feel free to leave any questions I was unable to answer in the comments when this goes up as a video, and I'll do my best to answer as many of you as possible. Try and keep the questions as simple as possible. It makes my life a lot easier when I'm trying to answer them. I really appreciate that, guys. But yeah, aside from that, drop a like if you haven't done already. That is really very much appreciated. Hopefully you did enjoy the stream, and I do appreciate you joining me today. I might try and get a video out tomorrow, to be fair, because I have got an idea for a video. But if not, I'll be back on Tuesday with Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid and the podcast, both of which go out every Tuesday. So looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Again, apologies if I couldn't answer your questions. Appreciate you guys. And I'm going to go and have some dinner now. Have a good evening, guys. Enjoy the rest of the football tomorrow. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.